do have our esteemed judges in the house. We have Judge Joe Brown, who is our speaker on tonight.
Yay!
We have Judge Deborah Henderson on tonight. And we have Judge Kerry Woods. And I tell you, as a group, as a club, as a membership, we are truly blessed to have judges and legislation on our side. Because if we don't, we're just the people walking in the wilderness. But they are here, they help us, they advise us, and do great things in our community. Judge Henderson will hold she will be in charge, the speaker for next month, and she's gonna talk about the eviction and foreclosure process and what you can do to either purchase a home, save a home, or at least have somewhere to live. And without Judge J.B. Joe Brown.
Seriously, I brought this because in spite of that introduction, somebody's always walking up. Judge Mathis, I've always wanted to meet you. You know, people say, I didn't recognize you, but when I heard your voice, I knew who it was. So I put this on. Yes, but anyway, I sort of bailed out of the aircraft, came in, and decided to fill in. Now, what is going on here is a disgrace and an absolute shame. For somebody downtown to say, we don't want a senior police officer to come in and brief citizens of the city as to what's going on is a disgrace. Let's see. Ben Dieter on Gaywell has been going along at some length because we get our crime underreported. Well, guess what? The report that came out 2 weeks ago showed that in the entire universe of the world, Memphis is the 10th most dangerous city in the world. It is the #1 most dangerous city in the United States. It leads in the homicide rate, the kidnapping rate, carjacking rate, burglary rate, you name it. And it is a disgrace that we have such manifest incompetence downtown that does not know what to do. You cannot have someone who is an administrator sitting at a desk talking about he's going to save the city because it requires somebody to go out and lead. I want some answers, and I think you are entitled to them also. There is a downtown development thing going on. I guess we had a connection with that. And that downtown development is financing an international hotel chain to the tune of $210 million to expand their downtown facilities. Why is that necessary? You're familiar with that grass lot right across the street from the Redbird Stadium. It was sold to somebody for just $600,000, no bid. It's worth about $6 to $7 million undeveloped. But the city has agreed to put $220 million into 28 luxury units that will be developed down there and a few boutique shops. What do we get out of it? We got $350 million that came to Memphis from our representatives in Nashville, and that's supposed to be to improve stadiums, but it's all going to FedEx for them, so why does FedEx need $350 million that ought to be fixing infrastructure and potholes? A disgrace and a shame. We've got $700 million committed to turning the Liberty Bowl into a soccer arena. We've got $3.5 billion committed to building a new football stadium. What is that about? We've got $500 million committed to turning the Mid-South Coliseum back into a usable structure from a collapsed and decayed place such as it is right now. But that does absolutely nothing for why Memphis Light, Gas, and Water breaks down if you take your dog out to the curb to do his or her needs. It's wrong. We don't even have any devices to clean up the ice off of the roadways. And every year our citizens are endangered and somebody gets badly hurt, if not killed, when predictable icy weather is not addressed. We can't use our cell phones to get anything in this city because the reception is horrible. But Memphis Light, Gas, and Water has these smart meters that use AT&T and the broadcast towers, and they broadcast every 20 seconds your usage. That is ridiculous. And then they estimate, and you get to pay out money. What for? You get improved services? No, you don't. Some scoundrels have a little scam that they're trying to run right now. We're hearing about Blue Oval. That's not Ford Motor Company. Blue Oval is a South Korean corporation, and they've already hired 15,000 South Korean residents to bring them to Memphis, and some of them are coming over right now to take up these 30,000 some jobs that are going to be offered here. If you wondered why everybody is calling you, asking you whether or not you want to sell your property, that's because there's going to be some interesting development if you're on the inside. But we get nothing out of it. What ought to be used for infrastructure to repair Memphis Light, Gas, and Water is being used to develop an outline going out to Mason, which has 5,200 people there now. And when you bring in 30,000 people, most of whom will be from not only not a local area, but from a foreign country, what winds up happening is you're going to have to deal with where do you house the families. Where are you going to let the families buy groceries and pharmaceuticals and get their haircuts and go to the movies? We're talking about a town that is going to have a population of 150,000, and when you drain in everybody working at Mickey D's, Malco's, etc., that's going to be 250,000 people. And we're financing to the tune of $3.5 billion again to put in a sewage line out here, a water line to Blue Oval territory, where a Korean company is coming in here to deal with the business opportunity. And some of the same people that didn't want their high-ranking police official to come down here and talk to us have been mouthing nonsense about Sanctuary City. Now, we have enough problems, but I'm looking for justice. And I want to see it. I'm just lusting off of it. I hate to say that I have that weakness. But 45 some years ago, when I was a defense lawyer, I tried some people under an interesting statute. It's Title 8, Section 1324 of the United States Criminal Codes. And it deals with harboring, giving aid, comfort, inviting in, transporting, giving shelter, assisting in avoiding apprehension and detention of illegal aliens. Yep. So every clown you hear that is a chief of police, sheriff, mayor, or governor in the United States that has been talking about having a sanctuary city and she's gonna resist ICE is committing a felony. On a minor level, it carries a cap of 5 years. For most of it, it's 10 and it goes up to 20. So every somebody you see that is on CNN running his ignorant or her ignorant mouth off about resisting ICE is trying to get put into the penitentiary on a major felony. It is Title 8, Section 1324 of the United States Criminal Codes. Remember that. And I want to see some people jacked up, and I want a new not literally necessary, but a new sheriff in town. We need to get to the current administration so the new U.S. attorney will go get somebody. And I don't think anybody downtown has a slight clue as to what they need to do. They are afraid of the people they represent. They'll show up when it's a nice, safe something, but when you get the young thugs out in the street, they're scared of them. Now, my niece and I just happened to be in Houston some months ago before it closed, allegedly because of high crime. Think about that. That parking lot over there, it was in, that also has the Paradiso, let's say the Napa Cafe and other stuff, has had almost 1,000 car break-ins over there. Ridiculous. But she and I were there and we saw Doc Harrington. Went over, we spoke, so he's there, elected 5 times as mayor. I'm a national, international celebrity. I'm there. We're talking to each other, but our mayor needs at least 5 to 8 cops for his personal security because he's scared to walk out where he represents. And you might want to ask him what his connection is with all of those facts and figures I ran down to you about the money we're spending out, and see whether we're getting Strickland 2.0 because Strickland appointed somebody to downtown development. And by the way, that hotel chain is advertising 18.7% set aside for locals. But somebody has been putting out there's only 15% because it looks like he got 3.7. We've got Tammy Sawyer managing the largest cash flow in the state going through Shelby County General Sessions Court. And that woman needs to be held to the fire and questioned about what have you done with our money? Yep. Now you had Nathan Bedford Forrest and Jeff Davis in their respective parks. Van Turner and Tammy Sawyer got together and introduced legislation before the county commission so that Van Turner could buy those 2 parks without bid for just $1,000 apiece. And the city of Memphis is still footing the bill for upkeep and management. But now let's look at something else. Let's ask somebody, do you happen to have anybody that you know who was hired to take down those 2 statues? And what was their relationship to you? And how much did they get paid for doing it? And then how much did they get paid for 3 years per month to store the statues in something where the rental for the storage facility, I am informed, allegedly is $96 a month. And then coming up with a scam where you make arrangements with the person that owns the storage facility to default on 3 months worth of payment. That person gets to file a lien against the statues, and you come up and say, okay, we'll pay you the 3 months rent and a little extra and a share, and we've got a Confederate museum that wants to buy each of them for 7 figures apiece. Where did the money go? We've got the Board of Education. We have a problem. The rules say that if the contract is not more than $100,000, if the rules say if the contract is not for more than $100,000, there's no need for formal board approval. Some clown had 130 contracts for a total of $13 million, and he got upset with the previous superintendent, got in her face, threatened her, and she filed a police report. somebody who is chairman of the city council gets up and a fool even put his threat in writing, in a text. That is criminal under the laws of this state. And then he wants to say it's a fabrication, but she filed as an exhibit to her lawsuit a copy of the text. So why shouldn't we know what happened with 130 contracts at $100,000 a piece, so you get $13 million for doing what? A tutorial program, and several school principals I know have never seen any of it. I'll get you in on another one. Anybody remember the matter of Tyree Nichols? A real tragedy, right? Okay. We bring in Ben Crump. I didn't, but let's just say it's somebody who said. Ben Crump files an action on behalf of Tyree Nichols' mother for $550 million. Our chief, who did not want one of her subordinates to talk to us, goes along and just about confesses the city to liability. Strickland, the mayor at the time, does about the same thing. Now, if they do not file to dismiss that lawsuit, the fix is in. You know why? The plaintiff has absolutely no standing because she put Tyree Nichols up for adoption before he was 2. He got adopted by a white couple in California. They have the standing to sue, but the statute of limitations is run on them. Nobody is supposed to get a dime out of this. And if somebody talks about a settlement, the fix is on. Let's get back to the Board of Education. We have a Board of Education legal department with a staff attorney and some other assistants who are lawyers. Some years ago, I volunteered to assist some senior teachers. They had been asked to turn some level 1 schools around that were in danger of you losing their certification. It was a scam because what they were trying to do was get rid of teachers with master's degrees, PhDs, a lot of experience and a lot of accolades that were getting paid between $80,000 and $100,000 a year. They replaced them with some people who have 2 years of junior college, getting paid $28,000, and I was down there defending them. The board attorney, excellent counselor at law, he knew what he was doing. But Birch, Porter, and Johnson has a ongoing contractual relationship with the board, which is by the client, from $500 to $3,500 an hour. So I listened to an excellent performance by the board attorney and some of the worst, most incompetent junior grade rookie garbage I've heard in a long time from Birch, Porter, and Johnson's representatives who had been out of law school, between the 3 of them, for a total of about 7 years. And they were getting paid $3,500 an hour. They wasted everybody's time being down there. But you see, that's just one contract and it's less than $100,000. But there are a lot of those things going on. Our guy, boss Trump and Elon Musk, they have Doge. And they're finding all of this enormous waste where people are being paid for doing nothing. I can tell you about that. I have to confess, but statute of limitations is long run. More than 50 years ago, I was in Washington, D.C. as an intern for a D.C. think tank. It was called the Center for National Policy Review. Well, I thought I could make some extra money, so I trotted myself downtown D.C. and I got hired by Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Well, I was getting paid a pretty decent check. Well, I was working hard, doing what I was doing. And then when my internship was up and I'm going back to LA, I go in and turn my resignation in. The director jumped out of the show. Oh no, please, don't do that, don't do that. That'll ruin our financing. Just give me your forwarding address. So for the next 3 years, I got a full paycheck every month and hadn't showed up a day for an hour for work. And I know where I used to work for EEOC when I first got here. And I know that you have federal bureaus where you have 25 people in a unit and 6 people are doing all the rest of the work and the rest of them are coasting. Why do they need them? So what is wrong with asking somebody justify what you did last week that would give us leave to retain you? What did you do? Now, we have the same thing going in Memphis. It is disgraceful. Let's go back to Mr. Musk, richest man on the planet Earth. He's putting in a supercomputer center to make the most advanced AI computers in the world, right here in Memphis. He's got a facility with almost 85,000 square feet completed. He needs wastewater, unpurified wastewater that you can use for nothing else. They call it gray water. He needs it for cooling. And Memphis wants to deny him the permit because they don't like his politics.
Oh my God.
They're talking about setting up a plan to educate the students around here, to give them an opportunity to get STEM scholarships and grants. And we are talking about we don't like his politics. And what the real story is we're not getting what we want under the table. Because we have crooks. Now, I've been active practicing law longer than anybody in here, and I know the 2 judges. We go back a long way. Last 50 plus years I've been doing this. And Memphis has a long history of crooks. We need another Tennessee waltz. Maybe you can call it a Memphis boogie. But we can go nowhere when our elected officials look at their positions as an opportunity to commit white-collar embezzlement and misappropriation of funds rather than doing their jobs. Now, when is somebody going to get out there and deal with these youth? What is the problem with our law enforcement? Let's start with the police and then go to the sheriff's department because it's the same. Both institutions are heavily infiltrated by street gangs. I have a place in Whitehaven, I had right down the street. Don't have it anymore. I had a place out in Skylake. Don't have it anymore. I do have a place out in Germantown and one over here in the city. But the problem is, you go talk to these young officers. I ain't going over there. That's not my posse. You know, it ain't safe for me to go over there. Now, when a cop is telling you he's not safe because of other cops in a rival gang, what the devil is going on? Same thing with the sheriff's department. Tate Street. They had a street festival in Tate Street. One of the most dangerous places in Memphis. But the grown folk came back to Tate Street and said, we are going to exercise our Second Amendment. So they were walking around, and we've got video. My niece over here can show you the stuff. They have carbines. They're making the gathering safe. Somebody in law enforcement got upset with that. But while all of this is going on and it's peaceful, 4 young folk between 14 and 16 showed up with Glocks stuck down the front of their pants. They're in uniform. I'm going, aren't you going to go say anything? Well, we don't want to create an incident. Like the devil, what's the matter with you? There is no excuse for a child having a 9mm Glock 17 stuck down the front of his pants. So I went over there, and oh man, it's on tape. No, you gotta get out of here. And they left and came back without the hardware. Now, if our law enforcement armed with gun belts on cannot deal with standing up to some 14 and 16-year-olds, the game is up. And what are you offering these children? Are they learning anything in school that they can get a job with? No. Do you give them purpose and cause? No. And by the way, nobody has asked me to help out on this. But when I had my courtroom over a 10-year period from 1990 to 2000, they did some statewide studies. The statewide felony recidivism rate was 84%. It was the same in my courtroom when we started. When I retired, it was at 18% going down. Why? There's a secret, but it's not really a secret. You have to give you a purpose and a cause. And if you give them a purpose and cause, they don't look at everything as an intolerable burden that they can't bear. They look at it as a challenge they can take on. And if something happens to them, at least they have a sense they died for some cause rather than for nothing. We've got a mass case of suicide by neighbor. What I mean by that? Hey, Stone, man, watch this, man. Look at me. Hey, you in the blue, man, you hear me? Man, I'm talking to you. You mean me? Ain't nobody out here got on blue but you, man. What you looking at me for? I'm not looking at you. You called me a liar? No, I ain't calling you no liar, man. I'm out here, and, you know, man, my car broke down. I'm waiting on the bus to go to my job. I ain't got no job like I care about yours. Why you coming up on me? Because I don't like it that you done called me a liar. Man, back off. I ain't playing with you. I ain't backing off what you gonna do. You keep moving up on me, you're gonna find out. Bam! Somebody's dead because they have no point living. You cannot rehab somebody so they feel better about themselves. You have to get them without the urge to die. See, the drug thing is not about getting high. It's about trying to die. In certain elements, you say, oh my God, did you hear about poor Tommy? No, what happened? You know, he was talking about life had no meaning. And last week, he jumped out of the 28th floor of his dad's office building. Oh my God, how tragic. What you hear in Memphis, especially from here on down, is, yo, man, you hear about Stomp Man? No, man. We was all over his house, man, last week, man. We had some foul smoke up in there, man. It was really foul, man. Next thing I know, man, he'd all down on his back, man, foam coming out his mouth, eyes done rolled up in the top of his head keels was kicking, man. As soon as we cleaned up, man, we called 911, but it was too late. Bus dudes all there before he got to the emergency room, man. Man, I was probably freak, ain't that the second one she done lost this year? It's socially acceptable suicide because why go through the mess you're going through if you have no purpose? So you give them a purpose, and it's the same purpose we have. Do you know the meaning of this location that we occupy? It is the geographic center of the North American continent. They have a valley that runs through here. It's called Tennessee Valley. It's blocked going directly to the East Coast by the Appalachian Mountains. So old time wise, a lot of stuff came through that valley. I-40 runs through it. It goes all the way from New York down, around, and it lines up just outside of Los Angeles where it changes numbers. It's the major transcontinental thoroughfare. The Mississippi River runs through here. Anybody been to the airport lately? Looks really rinky-dink, doesn't it? Really looks pathetic. Do you know that airport runs the largest commercial tonnage in the whole world, and the next place, which is Hong Kong, doesn't even run half what we run through here? Because it's least expensive, most convenient to ship through Memphis, if not to originate your shipments in Memphis, than anywhere else in the United States. If it gets shipped other than locally in the U.S., it comes through Memphis. And why are our city leaders sitting on this that don't even realize it's there? Europe right now is trying to get people to open up Memphis so they can load barges up in Europe, put them on barge transports, go across the mid-Atlantic where the weather patterns are better and the fuel costs are lower, get them to the port of New Orleans where you can see them. They look like 1,000-foot-long streamlined oil tankers. They get there, drop the rear hatch, give them a tow to bring them up to Memphis, where the world's largest barge unloading facility is located on President's Island. And that's where they run the stuff through customs. But nobody can visualize that because they don't care. They get their little chump change and the rest of us get a headache. Now, why can't we develop that? Europe wants to get in here. And see, there's another thing that's advantageous about it. Toyota, Mitsubishi, Lexus, Honda, they build cars. They put them on container ships in the Far East, and they go across the Pacific. They get to the Long Beach Harbor in LA, put them on a train. They come to Memphis to be distributed in the national shipment scheme. They go from Canada to Mexico on that. They can save 9,000 miles another way. You know what that is? Put them on special types of barges, send them through the Suez Canal, through the Mediterranean, come into New Orleans, drop the hatch, float out the already loaded barges, bring them up to Memphis, and they're in commerce. And they want that, but we block it. What is the matter with us? We could be the Chicago for the 21st century, not as it is right now, but the way it got, because it was the center of distribution and commerce. We have a problem. How much are we paying for power through Memphis like gas and water? And we buy it from TVA. What for? They have these things called modular hydroelectric generators. They look like large outboard motors. They are no wider than one of the chairs you're sitting in. They're about this tall if you get the prop unit below them. You can mount 1,000 of them on a decent sized barge. You can do something that is the same as the marina that we have down here with small boats with no impediments to navigation. The Corps of Engineers wouldn't be upset. We could generate a mass amount of electricity with these modular hydroelectric generators that they use in Asia and Africa. But they're on little floats that go that way when the tide is going in and that way when the tide's going out. And since the tide doesn't run 24/7, you have to have all these expensive storage facilities. But we have the mighty Mississippi that isn't going anywhere for the next 1.5 million years, and we have two 121-foot deep channels running under that bridge. We could put windmills under that bridge. We could put these modular hydroelectric generators all up and down the river. And we not only could generate all of the electricity we need, we could sell it to TVA, we could sell it all the way from Chicago to Atlanta, all the way to the East Coast, and come up with a brand new industry that doesn't cost anybody a nickel's worth of fossil fuel development. or burning. And we don't lay anybody off of the fossil fuel industry because we can use it to make stuff to build with. That's what we need. But do you think anybody around here has the intelligence, the acumen, or the initiative to do anything about that, which ought to be obvious? No, they're trying to get chunked in on under the table. What in the world is wrong with these people? We have that right here. And why do we not have a situation where we put precincts in places like these old skating rinks or next to them? Why don't we go out and have people who are communicating with you, and organizing community block situations where there's communications gear there, so when there's a problem on your block, you can directly get into the net with law enforcement? Why don't we use what we have with constitutional carry in Tennessee to set up urban militias, where the police department trains civilians and we get out and patrol our neighborhoods with some backup and communications devices so we don't feel helpless at home and alone? Why don't we do something about that? Because they have no initiative. They have no vision. And they have, excuse the term, no balls. Our mayor can't go anywhere, even in an upscale restaurant with 5 to 8 security. Our clerk of the court, General Sessions, has got a track record of compromise when it comes to integrity when there's money involved. And we don't do what we ought to do to get the word out. Well, we can get the word out. We just won. I went to that affair in the White House last week. It was a great experience. I just need about 4 or 5 more minutes and I'm going to finish up. Don't worry. I ain't going to do that this morning, this afternoon. We got more in this sermon. No, we're not going to do that. But it was fascinating. I'd never seen anything like that before. All of these mainstream Americans, and it wasn't just black folk there for African American history or Black History Month. It was everybody. And you saw all of these people that were saying, my God, I was so frustrated, like there was nothing to do, and I was getting told that it was hopeless. But it wasn't hopeless. They weren't lying to us. We whipped some behind. We did it. I'm glad we did it, frankly. Where I've been talking about that hyena grinning Harris with. I thought they were going to put me in a gulag this time next year if we lost. He hides this. I'm Judge Balance. What are you looking for? But it is a shame we are not properly building on what we have. Memphis is being offered no cause. It's a vacuum. So the conservative folk in this room have the opportunity to get out there, answer the question, why are we here? To make this place better. Why are we here? Because black, white, brown, red, yellow, we are in the modern Rome. This is the center of the planet Earth. We have the biggest economy, but we don't want to lose it because our schools are incompetent and incapable. We have a unique experience, an experiment known as the Constitution of the United States of America. And it's an ongoing experience, and we don't want to lose that because it is important for the rest of the world. Everybody in the world likes our system. And we go around trying to act like it's our worst enemy. And fools running around talking about white supremacy. Look, folks, there's a thing called xenophobia. We don't like the strange. You don't know what xenophobia is? Anybody in here old enough to remember when they first started coming out with sushi and everybody going, oh my God, they're talking about eating raw fish bait. Oh, heck no. Or me, I eat high on the hog. I am not eating anybody's chitlins. I see the corn and the straw down in the bottom of the bucket, and I know what it smells like. And I do not recycle my own toilet paper. I certainly not going to deal with Mr. Pigs. So I'm hung up about that. But some people smack their lips and go so and so. You see these food programs where they travel all over the world and they eat some disgusting stuff that's still squirming, and you go, it's still alive, but he's eating it. See, that's xenophobia. But you cure xenophobia by getting familiar with something. And we need to get familiar with each other because we have to work together, because we still have manifest opportunity that we can take advantage of, because you, and you, we're all tired of what we have to deal with when we live here. And there's something we can do about it by getting leadership in place, getting law enforcement in place, so that we do not feel isolated and somebody's lying through their filthy, no good, scoundrel teeth trying to tell us we don't have a crime problem. Like we can't see when we go down to the gas station and go to pump gas. Like we don't see the Kroger's closing down because of the shoplifting plague. Like we don't see the nonsense with some idiots on the far side of a big parking lot trying to share what he did with Tamika last night. See, we can do better. I was talking about that earlier. That's because the sheriff's department and the police department are infiltrated by gangs. Right. And they got a thing going on. I can talk to them. I talked to some Crips out here. Everybody's trying to tell me don't do that. It's dangerous. I said, they're young people. I'm going to talk to them. So they're down there. I said, shake my hand. Somebody gave me a handshake that an 8-year-old girl would be embarrassed to give you. No grip. I said, Tookie would crush your hand. Why you dare to say Cookie's mouth? I said, because he used to work for me when he was 14. I know the boy. I knew his mama. We tried to get him out of the hood, but his mama wanted that check, wouldn't let him out, so he couldn't get out of the swamp. He just became the baddest alligator in the swamp. Should have had his death sentence commuted to life, but the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, didn't want him to keep breathing because Arnold and Tookie used to pump iron together at Gold's Gym in Santa Monica, California. They spotted for each other. They were there 3 days a week. And I thought it was a gutless thing for him not to commute the man's sentence after he got 6 books trying to get children a purpose and a cause, like we tried to give